Hello everyone, and welcome to the Integration of Literacy Strategies Professional Development. My name is Ashley, and I'm going to be talking to you today about a lot of different opportunities you have to increase the literacy of your students. So first we need to look at what exactly is literacy, because it's a word we hear a lot, but there's a lot of different definitions that could be used. According to Merriam-Webster, being literate means being educated or cultured, also having the ability to read and write, and also having knowledge or competence about a particular subject, such as digital literacy or cultural literacy. Literature should be at the heart of our literacy programs. Obviously, reading has a lot to do with improving our literacy. As stated in the textbook, it provides an excellent context for deep thinking and personal response, inspires us and informs us, nurtures our imaginations, moves us to laughter, to tears, and to action. And now we have a short video that kind of recaps for us what exactly literacy is. So now that we kind of have an idea of what exactly literacy should be, let's take a look at what the role of the librarian should be in improving the literacy of our students. We know that the librarian should develop a collection that meets the needs of teachers and students, that considers the curriculum, the school's mission, and provides the resources that the teachers and the students need. The librarian should also communicate library programs, services, and resources available to members of the school community. They should also seek feedback from teachers and students for their needs and wants in the library, such as a suggestion box or asking for recommendations and things like that. The librarian should also provide a useful professional collection for teachers that supports their curriculum and their needs in the library as well. The librarian should also create an inviting and welcoming environment for students that supports reading for pleasure, because the more students read, the more their literacy will improve. And finally, librarians should also collaborate with teachers to develop literacy plans. Why should we use literature? Well, it contributes to literacy development. It facilitates language development. It encourages reading achievement. It improves student attitudes toward reading. It impacts writing ability, and it expands the knowledge of written language. As teachers teaching literature, the number one thing that they should know is children's literature. They should be familiar with it. They should also provide access to a wide variety of literature, not just the classics, but they need to branch out beyond that. They need to allow time for reading and discussing literature. They need to plan individual, small group, and whole group experiences with literature, because when you see things from multiple different perspectives, you have more opportunities to think and learn about the things that you're reading. The teacher should also pre-read selected literature to plan meaningful experiences, because as a teacher, it's difficult to plan an activity around material that you are not familiar with. The teacher should also identify themes or appealing issues in the literature. They should establish a safe, accepting, and trusting atmosphere so that students feel comfortable sharing their opinions and their ideas. Nobody should be scared to share. And the teacher should also plan appropriate activities before, during, and after reading. That way, all of the information that is shared during the reading is processed multiple times, and that helps the students to remember things. When you're choosing reading activities, these are the things that you should think about. Will it promote discussion? Will it activate or develop background knowledge? Will it prompt the use of comprehension strategies? Does it promote higher order thinking? Are they appropriate for a wide range of readers? And do they promote differentiated instruction? So these are all questions that you should try to answer when you're considering the activities to go along with reading in your classroom. So we're going to look first at some pre-reading activities. And these are activities that build and activate background knowledge. They develop the language that a lot of times you're going to see in the reading. They will establish a purpose for reading. They will promote personal responses. They will arouse curiosity, and they will provide motivation for reading. And here are 5 tips for using pre-reading activities in your classroom. You should know your students, your purpose, and the literature, and select activities appropriate for all of those. You should embrace the provided opportunities for collaboration and ensure equitable participation. So not just a few people involved, but everyone should be involved in an equitable way. You should welcome all responses, no matter what they may be. You should encourage elaboration on ideas and expansions of comments by others. Providing opportunities to explain and give further information just provides deeper understanding of the text. And you should also select as many activities as needed to achieve your goals, typically 1 or 2, so that students do not spend more time preparing to read than actually reading. And we're going to look at a lot of examples really quickly of possibilities for pre-reading activities. The first one is anticipation guides. These are used quite frequently, and it's just a list of statements with which students either disagree or agree. They're typically related to themes, issues, or concepts in the reading. They lead to discussion. They are also a good opportunity to provide explanations for students' opinions. And they stimulate personal connections with the text. And here we have an example of an anticipation guide you may find prior to reading Hamlet. Next, we have a questionnaire, which is kind of similar, but it requires the examination of a student's opinions, attitudes, values, and experiences, usually related to a theme or topic that students will encounter in their reading. And they can be open-ended or in a checklist format. So here's just an example that asks a student to answer some questions. It has some factual questions as well as some opinion-based questions. And so you always want to have those related to what it is you will be reading. Book boxes are fun. That's where you take a box and you fill it up with items related to the reading. Items are going to be clues for the content of the text, and students are going to identify those objects and make predictions about the reading. And this also promotes higher order thinking. And so here is a box that you could use prior to reading Hamlet. We have the flowers that will represent Ophelia and her struggles going through her a relationship with Hamlet. We also have the skull, obviously is an important figure. We have the dagger, the poison, and the letter. So all of those things are important elements of the story of Hamlet and could be used in a book box prior to reading. Book bits are when you take sentences or phrases from the text instead of objects, and you print those excerpts on small strips of paper and distribute them around the room. Students then discuss with others and draw inferences about the characters, setting, and plot, and explain why they came to those conclusions. And here is an example out of the textbook where you see some quotes from the text and the conclusions that the students might draw about those characters, the setting, and the plot. Cover clues are where you take covers of a book and you brainstorm ideas about the different aspects and what they might mean. So some students might look at the colors, the shapes, and the lines and draw conclusions about what those things might mean. Other students might look for people and animals, others objects, others would look at scenery, and finally others would look at the font or the style and size of the lettering. And then students would discuss their predictions, inferences, and their conclusions, giving reasons to support all of those. Character quotes prepare various quotes from main characters of the reading, and then those quotes should share various aspects of the character's personality, and students are going to generate words to describe the character, and then they will explain their choices. The group discussions from this lead to deeper understanding of personality traits and characters. Contrast charts are very popular. This is what I like to call a T-chart, and you're going to identify theme-related contrasting categories such as similarities and differences, pros and cons, and such. Students are going to list ideas under each category, and considering two sides of an issue promotes higher order thinking. You could do these individually in small groups or as a whole class. Another popular chart is a KWL chart. These are used when reading factual information. In the first column, students are going to write what they know or think that they know. The second column is what they want to know. They could ask questions or just phrases of what they're curious about. And the third column is what they learned from the reading. So this is a chart that could be used throughout the reading process. And they could also go back and edit. If their knowledge was incorrect in the first column, they would want to correct that. And this form of questioning promotes personal connections with the text. Semantic maps are another common pre-reading activity. These are also called clusters or semantic webs, and is basically a graphic display of categorized information. The category terms are circled and lines are drawn to connect the categories to a central concept. This provides a visual display of concepts and relationships among them and facilitates discussion of relationships among ideas and information. So in the first example, you see various types of transportation and terms that go along with each of those. And then the bottom example, you have the White House and specific terms about the White House, and the lines represent the relationships between those terms.